want y'all to be notified that you are a juror, so here, proper juror badges on there.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I want to warn counsel, for me, with most of you, I've heard about shenanigans from some of the other judges, and I want you to know that I will not tolerate I will not tolerate. Well, that was when I was a juvenile judge. I will not tolerate.
Josh.
Any outburst. Where are our witnesses? We have all our witnesses stand at one time.
Do I need to stand?
Yes.
All right, if all of you raise your right hand. Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that the testimony that you give before this court today will be false, made up, and completely untrue, so help you?
So help us God.
I now pronounce you all men in white. No, I'm sorry. Let's see. All right, have a seat. Now, this courtroom is now in session for the trial of, somebody bring me a file? All right, so be right back. Talk among yourselves. Feel free to settle the case while I'm gone.
Plea bargain, like in jail.
Life in jail?
10 years.
It's innocent.
25, right? You know.
Innocent people don't go to jail.
dropped the charges.
Not by the time.
Not this innocent guy. He doesn't go to jail. Sitting in his chair so bad. It's really hard not to spin in the chair. I want to.
It's very tough to spin on this chair.
I hope the judge says my name. That's not the one that I want to correct.
All right, we've gotten all the preliminaries out of the way. I'm Jim Ammons, I'm the judge that's trying this case. We're going to do it just like a regular case. However, Ms. Vonnegut is in charge. I'm not. If we need to stop to make sure that things progress so that everybody gets a grade, we'll do that too. All right. Who's the lead counsel for the prosecution? All right, you would call your case. Just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the name of the case.
The name of the case is the State versus Coonsey
And the charge is?
for first degree murder.
All right, where's Mr. Coonsey? All right, and who's the lead counsel for him?
I am.
All right,
Sir.
you'd stand up when you address the court. How does he plead?
Not guilty.
Are you ready for trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, will there be opening statements? All right,
Yes, Your Honor.
prosecution may proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Jacob Furgoff, and on behalf of the prosecution and the defense, I'd like to thank you for your service to Cumberland County. But we're here for a murder trial. Now, who was murdered? James McCann, a father, new fiance. He was beaten in his own home. Let's start with the facts. Tyler McCann, the son of James McCann, woke up and was beaten, bounded in his own room. By the time he regains consciousness, and still crawling on the floor, calling for his father, but his father had no reply. He was dead. And so we have a So an investigation begins, and the main piece of physical evidence that can be found is an ear print. Now that ear print, which the prosecution and defense will go over, is that ear print was found on the door of James McCann's own bedroom. And the prosecution and the state are confident that that is of the defendant, David Coonsey. We have testimony saying that we will have testimony that that David Wayne Coonsey had been looking into James McCann. The defendant is the ex-husband of James McCann's new fiancée, Diana Coonsey. We will show testimony that he was interested in him. He had actually at one point hired a private investigator to look for James McCann. We will also show testimony that he was within 3 miles of the McCann residence during the night of where the incident took place. And we will show that his alibi is full of holes. But you will hear plenty about this ear print, and we will have the defense that will say that there is no standard for ear prints, or that this shouldn't be allowed in any sort of courtroom. That is for you to decide. Right now, James McCann cannot speak, so we ask the people that he speak on his behalf.
Defense want to give their opening now, or you want to save it?
I'm prepared
All
to
right, you
do
may
it now.
proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have already been addressed by the prosecution, and I thank you for your time and your commitment to this case today. However, we all know that on December 15th, 1994, James McCann was beaten, he was killed, and his son, Tyler, was beaten and bound in their home. However, there is no concrete evidence that my client, David Coons, was the man who killed Mr. McCain. It is tragic that Mr. McCain died. Everyone surrounding this case, involved in this case, even you will feel remorse, you will feel emotion about Mr. McCain's death. Everyone is deeply saddened by the fact that Mr. McCain has passed away, including my client. But my client is an honest man. He's a hard worker. He owns his own business. He's a father himself. He has 2 children. Mr. Coons is also riddled with a few breaks of his own, rough breaks of his own. He's had a very extensive vasectomy surgery that has gone wrong. He is on pain medication. He has trouble doing day-to-day activities. And it is fact that he would have very difficult time exerting the kind of force that it would take to commit this crime. It also is fact that there will be evidence presented that is questionable. It also is fact that Mr. Coons is very saddened by the fact that Mr. McCain has died. And it also is fact that we will present evidence, the defense will present evidence to prove that Mr. Coons is innocent. Please, today, make sure that you keep your eyes, your minds open to the truth. Thank you for your service.
All right, call your first witness.
Prosecution calls Sergeant Stephanie Harrison to the stand.
Ladies and gentlemen, the court will remind you that all the witnesses have been sworn to tell the truth. You may proceed.
Please say your name for the record.
Stephanie Harrison.
What is your
Stephanie,
current
please
occupation?
speak up just a little bit.
Okay. I'm a sergeant for the Fayetteville Police Department,
How long have you been working at your current job?
approximately 5 years now.
What kind of training do you need for your job?
they'll put you through a BLET course, which is basic law enforcement training, and we also have to have continuing education.
Have you had any special training for your job?
Yes.
What is that training?
I have taken courses in crime scene investigation, in forensic firearms, as well as criminal profiling and other things along those lines.
Can you for a moment briefly describe your educational background?
I graduated from Methodist University with a Bachelor of Science in Justice Studies and a concentration in Applied Forensic Science.
What happened on the 16th of December?
I received a call at approximately 11:40 that morning to 7317 Northeast 55th Avenue.
After you received the call, what did you do?
Whenever I arrived on scene, whenever I got there, the EMS personnel was assisting Tyler McCann.
And who is Tyler McCann?
Tyler McCann is a 13-year-old young boy. He was beaten and bound on the front porch of the house.
Did you untie Tyler McCann?
No.
What happened after that?
After that, I proceeded into the residence and I did a protective sweep of the house to make sure that there was no threat to anybody that had entered the house after I did, such as like EMS or other officers. Whenever I was doing the protective sweep of the house, I went into the master bedroom and I found a victim later to be identified as Jim McCann. He was beaten and bound, naked, laying face down on his bed.
Okay, I want to back up for a second. What did the inside of the house look like? What was the overall condition?
It seemed to be pretty well put together. I mean, it didn't appear as though there was anything big taken.
After you discovered the body of James McCann, what did you do next?
I went back out on the front porch and I got one of the EMS personnel and I escorted them into the bedroom and they pronounced him dead. And after that, I escorted them back out onto the front porch.
After you escorted them out, what did you proceed to do next?
I taped off the scene as to secure it. That way nobody could disrupt the crime scene.
And after you secured the surroundings, what did you do? No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Your witness.
No questions.
Yes, ma'am, you may come down. Call your next witness.
Prosecutor would like to call Tyler McCann to the stand.
We'd also like to clarify to the jury that these are not part of his injuries condition and they did have any surgery.
You are to envision the witness as a 13-year-old boy without crutches. May proceed.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Tyler McCann.
What is your relationship to James McCann?
He was my father.
How was James as a father?
He was the greatest dad ever.
How did December 15th start for you?
It's like a normal day, just woke up and got ready and went to school.
What happened after school?
There was a dance after school, so I went to that
When was the dance over?
around 4:45.
After the dance ended, what did you do?
Me and my father went home.
Okay. What time did you arrive home?
little after 5.
When you arrived, what did you proceed to do?
Me and my father ate dinner, and then watched TV and just hung out.
Okay. When did your father go to bed?
Around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Was this normal for him?
Yes.
Okay. When did you go to bed?
A little after 10.
Was this normal for you? What is the next thing you remember?
Just remember being woken up by being hit by a hand or an object of some sort.
What happened next?
He just kept hitting me really hard. I didn't think he was gonna stop.
And then what did he do?
He told me to lay face down as he tied me up.
Okay. What is the next thing you remember after that?
I just remember him leaving and I passed out. But I remember waking up and just seeing him standing there staring at me in the doorway. I just remember being really scared.
Okay. Did you pass out after that?
Yes.
When did you come to after that?
I woke up early in the morning and noticed that the man was gone.
Okay. What did you do after that?
Figured I could crawl, so I crawled to my dad's room and started banging and knocking up against his bed trying to wake him up.
Was he responsive?
No.
What happened after that?
I tried crawling to the front door, but being tied up made it really hard and it hurt.
Did you make it to the front door?
Yes, eventually, and I was able to get outside.
What happened after that?
When the neighbors came over and saw me laying on the porch and called 911.
Okay. After she called 911, then what happened? Or what do you remember?
I just remember being really cold, so she put a blanket on me.
After 911, after EMS arrived, what happened next?
I just remember waking up in the hospital and a bunch of cops asking me questions. And I remember having to get surgery, so I was unable to answer those questions at the time.
Surgery for what injuries?
I had a fractured skull.
How bad were your injuries?
Doctors said they were life-threatening.
No further questions, Your Honor.
The witness?
Tyler, I'm sorry you have to answer these questions. I know you're going through a tough time, but I'll try to make this as quick as possible. What were you thinking when you were awakened by the intruder?
I wasn't thinking. I mean, at first I thought it was my dad hitting me, but I screamed, "Dad, stop!" and it just kept coming.
Is it normal that your dad would wake you up and hit you?
No, not at all. That's why I was so shocked.
Is it fair to say that you were scared?
I was very scared.
Did you attempt to fight back any?
Nah, I tried, yes.
Do you think you made any contact with?
I may have hit him once or twice, but I can't remember fully.
Did you ever hear the intruder's voice? Did he say anything to you?
When he told me to lie down on my face,
Can you describe the intruder's voice?
it was just deep.
Did you get a picture of the man who was beating you?
You know, I just saw the out version of his body. It was dark.
How long do you think the intruder was in the house?
There's no telling. I was blacking out, in and out. Being tied up.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what this is?
It's like a statement of some sort.
All right, Tyler, keep your voice up.
Is that, in fact, your statement?
It has my name right here. I must have said it at some point.
Could you read to the jury your description of the man at that time?
Dark, completed male, like that of a Puerto Rican, approximately 6 feet tall with a medium build, dark black hair about a mid-ear, straight rather than being styled. Wearing a brownish reddish coat and pants same color. The coat looked like leather, but B doesn't know if it was leather. Coat had pockets sewn on the front rather than the kind one can slip their hands into. The pockets were possibly square. The suspect wore black gloves.
So it's fair to say that you saw everything but the suspect's face.
Yes.
Have you ever met Mr. Coombs?
No.
Can you think of any reason why Mr. Coombs
Objection,
wants it?
relevance.
Well, let me ask the question. Don't answer the question yet till after I ask it.
Can you think of any reason why Mr. Coombs would want to hurt you?
Overruled.
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Was it dark in your room?
It was very dark.
So you can't see his face completely?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else? Thank you. You can come down. Call your next witness. Take your time. Please be careful. There's some steps. The bailiff will help you. Yes, sir. Call your next witness.
Prosecution calls Renee Shaw to the stand, Your Honor. Please say your name for the record.
Renee Shaw.
Renee, what is your relationship with James McCann?
He was, we were married. He's my ex-husband. We, got together when I was about 24. We were married for about 12 years.
Why did you two separate?
I was just unhappy. Our lives were going in different directions.
Can you describe James McCann overall as a person?
Jim was a extraordinary father. All he wanted to do was make sure that Tyler was taken care of. That was his main goal. He was a simple man. He didn't do too much. He wasn't a big socializer. He stayed in the house a lot.
Have you ever known James to be violent?
Not at all. He's very timid. Like I said, he's very simple and he didn't socialize a lot, and he was very timid. He never got in any trouble.
Has James ever been in any conflicts?
No.
How do you know Diana Kunze?
We worked together, and as a matter of fact, I'm the one that set them two up together. We worked together, and I realized that she was also alone and lonely, and so was Jim, and I just felt that they would be a good match, so I'm the one that set them up.
How long have you worked with Diana?
A few years at the hospital.
So do you know Diana pretty well?
Yes.
Has she ever come into work shaken, scared, or worried?
Yes, as a matter of fact, she has.
Do you know the reason why?
It was because of her, at the time, it was her husband, but her ex-husband now,
Okay.
being, in a domestic dispute, you could say. They were in a domestic dispute and police showed up, and she was just very shaken
Okay.
from it.
And who is that person who you talk of?
That was Diana. When I saw her come to work, she was just very shaken and confused and frustrated, and it was from the dispute, domestic dispute with her spouse, who is the defendant.
Okay. Is the defendant aggressive?
Yes.
Objection.
What's your objection?
She's never met, Mr. Coons.
Oh, that's, you can ask her that on cross. You may proceed.
What happened on the 16th of December?
Well, the day prior, that Thursday, see, on Fridays, I'm supposed, my son Tyler, he stayed with, his father, and, so on Fridays, I usually pick him up at 3:45, and then, I keep him, and, well, on Thursday, I had called and left a message for Jim because I knew that Tyler wanted to go see his girlfriend, Saturday morning, so I, told Jim, well, since you're gonna come pick him up anyway Saturday morning, you can just keep him, Friday night, cause I have Christmas shopping to go finish, and me and my current husband, Tim, we were gonna go to, the coast to finish our Christmas shopping, so that's what I was doing on Friday instead of picking up my son.
The next day, December the 16th, what happened?
I got a phone call from my brother saying that he heard on the news of a horrible accident.
Can you describe that accident?
All I know is that when I got to the hospital, sorry, my
You need a moment, ma'am.
Yeah, if you need a moment, take it.
fine. I found out that Jim was dead and my son was brutally beaten.
After you received that phone call, what did you do?
I went to the hospital and I saw my son.
Can you describe what your son, his condition was?
His head was bashed in and skull just swollen and I guess they said it was all fractured and he had bruises everywhere and he had from I guess the duct tape abrasions all over where they bound him. I mean, how could anybody do that to my son? I mean, he's 13. How could you do that? I mean, it just is ridiculous how someone can do that. I just don't understand.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You need a moment, ma'am?
I'm fine.
Ms. Shaw, have you ever met Mr. Coons?
No.
So what you said earlier about him being violent, you can only speculate because of somebody else's opinion?
I suppose you could say that, yes.
When were you and Mr. McCann married?
We were married, we got together in 1979. Like I said, I was about 24, and we were married for about 12 years. Got divorced in 91.
When did you separate?
We separated, well, really around that same time. I had to take care of some personal business.
So you were separated in what year?
1990, I guess, I think, I don't know.
When were you divorced then?
1991, I think.
Where did you meet your current husband prior to divorcing, or did you?
Objection, relevance.
I don't understand the relevance either, but if he wants to take his time doing that, that's fine.
Where did you meet your current husband?
When I was taking care of my personal business,
Can you explain to the jury what that personal business was?
I was in, treatment,
What sort of treatment?
alcohol I drank because I was unhappy.
Were you dating your current husband before you divorced Mr. McCann?
We were, when I was in treatment, I wouldn't consider it dating, no, we frequently talked when we were in treatment together. We were a support system for each other, yes.
So it's fair to say that the relationship grew from that initial meeting?
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of the direct.
Well, that's overruled.
Does that mean I answer it?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. What was the question?
So it's fair to say that your relationship grew from that point? Your initial meeting?
Well, our initial meeting, we were in treatment. We were all in a group with a lot of other people. I had a lot of other relationships with the people in the treatment facility as well.
You stated that you hoped Jim and Diane took things slow in their relationship
For my son's sake, yes,
for your son's sake.
yes.
You're aware that they were engaged after only a few months of seeing each other, right?
Yes, and I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was wonderful.
Well, you just said that you wish they took it slow.
Okay, well, some people's slow is different from other people's slow.
So that didn't make you mad that he didn't take your advice?
Absolutely not. Not when I saw how happy my son was, and not when I saw how happy those two were, and finally seeing Jim happy.
So you say that the only people Jim associated with were coworkers?
When he was at work, he didn't socialize out of work, no.
How well did you know your ex-husband?
I mean, we had a kid together. We were married for 12 years. I would say that I knew him pretty well.
Did you know after your divorce he was dating several women?
Yes. I'm the one that told the detective that.
And did you know one of those women was actually married?
Yes. But he didn't know that at the time. When he found out, they stopped dating.
Did you know one of Mr. McCann's ex-girlfriend's husband recently got out of jail?
Say that again?
Did you know that an ex-girlfriend of your ex-husband recently got out of jail?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Overruled, it's getting interesting.
Okay, one of my ex-husbands,
One of his ex-girlfriends had a ex-husband who was in jail.
my ex-husband's ex-girlfriend had an ex-husband who was in jail.
Yes.
Okay, what was the name of the ex-girlfriend? I know there was Gloria, there was Mary, there was one that I didn't know her name. I think there was a Suzanne maybe.
Well, it doesn't matter
Which
who
one?
it is, but did you know?
No,
Okay. Alright. So you weren't aware that he was scared of this man who had been in jail?
I don't think anyone would know that Jim was scared of a man in jail.
You say that Mr. McCann would forget to lock the door somehow?
As far as I know, he was very security conscious. If the door was ever unlocked, it would have been because he might have forgotten, but he was still a very security conscious man.
So you said Tyler had a way of getting in the house if it was locked out.
Yeah, I think one time, yeah. I know of a time when he told me,
How did Tyler get in if it was locked out of the house?
through a side window.
The first weekend in November, did you have your son?
November of what year?
94,
And what year are we in right now?
96.
I don't know.
It would have been the month before the murder.
I mean, every chance that I got that I wasn't working, I had my son. So, I don't know.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You can come down. Please be careful. Call your next witness.
Thank you.
Prosecution calls Detective Scott. Would you please state your name for the court?
Detective James Scott.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a detective with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department.
Can you tell me a little bit about the duties of a detective?
Yes, I'll do investigations and then do follow-ups through those investigations with interviews, interrogations, and then make arrests, things of that nature.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your educational background?
Yes, I graduated from Methodist University with a 4-year degree in Justice Studies, and then from there I got my basic law enforcement training in Fayetteville.
Do you have any special training related to your occupation?
I do. First responder training, evidence collection training, and then crime scene documentation through photos and video.
So one of your duties is to take pictures.
Sir,
And did you take pictures of the James McCann investigation?
I did.
All right, so do you remember when you entered the home?
Yes, a telephonic search warrant was obtained at 2:13 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, and I entered immediately after that.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to approach.
Me?
Yes.
Sure. Somebody from the other side wanna come up?
So you're not gonna show Detective Scott his pictures right now?
Detective Scott. Do you
Alright, so
recognize?
what are we doing?
This is
You don't need to approach me now?
No, I'm gonna show him the
Y'all
these,
got a copy of the pictures?
we've seen.
Alright, hey, proceed, keep your voice up.
Do you know what this is?
I did.
Can you say for the court what it is?
It's a sketch that I drew of the crime scene.
And can you describe what type of sketch is this?
It's a sketch of the interior of the residence.
The entire interior of the residence?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with this as well?
I am. This one right here is a sketch of the ear print that we found on the master bedroom door.
And who created the sketch?
I did.
Do you recognize these photographs here? who took these photographs?
I did.
And can you describe what these photographs are of?
Yes, they're of the crime scene, the interior and exterior of the residence.
All right, Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to bring into evidence plaintiff's exhibit 1 through 19. I'm sorry,
You've
Mr.
seen these.
Yes, sir.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right, Madam Clerk,
1 through 16, I apologize.
plaintiffs 1 and 2 are admitted their sketches. 3 through 16 are admitted their photographs.
Now, can you describe the home a little bit for me?
Can you tell us what number this is for the record?
This photo is going to be, should be number, okay, mistake for you. This is number 3.
Okay.
Can you describe the home for me?
Yes, you walk in through the front door and turn sort of towards the left, I guess, and you're in the living room area. It appeared to be fairly neat, nothing out of the ordinary. You take a right into the hallway, and on the right side there is a game room, TV room, some of that nature. Then right next to that on the right is the victim, Tyler, his bedroom. Directly across from there is the master bedroom where his father stayed.
We're going to go through some of the other photos. Can you describe some of the other photos for me?
Yes. Okay. This is the back of the residence.
Tell us what number each time you change.
That was number 4?
Objection, Your Honor. If he's done what he's doing, can he sit back down?
Well, he's in the line of the projector there, and
There's an
I
empty
believe-
seat right here.
we usually are seated, but at my discretion, I'll allow him to stand there.
Your Honor, defense counsel would like to move to an area of the room where we can
Yeah,
obtain a
feel
clear
free to
view
move
of the
around.
presentation.
What of it? Whoever's gonna cross this witness can move.
This right here is the broken window where you can tell easy access to a latch on the towards to open the window from the garage.
This is Exhibits 5.
Without a street.
Well, you need to say it loud enough so the record can.
This is Exhibits 5.
Alright, this right here is the blue and white boxer shorts belonging to Tyler with the silver duct tape attached to it. Right here is the rope that bound Tyler. And then the brown blanket was given to Tyler from the neighbor.
And that would be State's Exhibit 6.
This is just a front view of looking inwards towards the residence.
State's Exhibit 7.
Same thing, just with the door open, looking through the living room. This right here is a picture of the garage, looking inwards, and as you can tell, the telephone right here, the cord has been cut and the telephone is off the hook.
That would be State's Exhibit 9.
This is the hallway looking, on the left side, you'll have the master bedroom, and then on the right side, you'll have Tyler's room and the TV room, if you want to call it that. This right here is a picture of some blood spatter on the baseboard of the master bedroom, and then you have a little bit on the wall as well.
State's Exhibit 10 there.
This is just, I guess, measurement of the blood spatter. Same thing in the master bedroom where the window, the blinds.
State's Exhibit 11 and 12.
This is the victim, James McCann. He is face down. This is the upper torso of him. As you can tell, his hands are bound behind his back tightly. And just to clarify, he does normally sleep in the nude, so there wasn't any sexual act that went on that night.
60 to 13.
This is the lower torso. As you can tell, his legs are tightly bound as well.
60 to 14.
This right here is the ear print that was lifted from the master bedroom door, and this isn't blood. It's the upper cheek right here where he imprinted it on the door, and that's just powder. That's just a measurement of the ear.
Now, can you describe? So you described the state of the master bedroom. Can you describe how the victim looked?
Yes. As you walk in, the sheets are folded back so you can see the victim. When you walk in, his head is body face down, head towards the headboard, excuse me, and then feet are towards the door. As you can tell, he was bound, and there was blood present towards the head, of course, and then on the bed as well. And there was another phone in that room, which was cord cut and unplugged or off the hook.
Can you please describe to the jury what physical evidence you collected from the scene?
Yes. As you can tell through one of the photos I took, the blue and white boxer shorts with the duct tape attached, the rope that bound Tyler, the blanket that the neighbor gave him, the telephone from the master bedroom. There was also 6 prints taken from the outside of the master bedroom. Two of those prints were usable fingerprints from Tyler, the victim, and then the third one that was used was the ear print.
And were you there when the ear print was collected?
I was.
Okay. Do you remember who collected the ear print?
I did.
Did you see exactly where the ear print had been pulled?
I did.
Okay. How tall are you?
Around 5'9".
Do you think you could demonstrate for the jury how an individual could create an ear print like one that was shown in evidence?
Yes.
Approach the door right there.
The ear print was found in the door frame, 8 inches to the left, and then from the floor or the bottom of the door, 59 inches upwards.
Now, Detective Scott, from that position, what purpose would someone have to have their ear on that door?
To listen through.
Was there any evidence that was collected after the initial sweep of the home?
I believe so.
Okay. Was there any evidence collected by you from the medical examiner?
Yes, there was.
At any point, did you go back to the home?
I did.
And can you describe the next time that you came back to the home? Sure, yeah.
The second time I came back to the residence, May 24th of '95, we did fiber and trace analysis, and we also took the door and put it into evidence.
And who collected all of this evidence?
I did.
Detective Scott, are you familiar with the process used to maintain chain of custody?
I am.
Right. And was this process followed throughout the investigation?
Yes, it was.
And where was this evidence kept?
It was kept in the evidence room at the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department.
And was any evidence taken during the duration of the case?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Can you describe what evidence that was?
There was, I believe it was ear print 6, if I'm not mistaken. I took it out of evidence, and I'm not exactly sure, I can't remember who I gave it to, but I do know it ended up in Grubbs' possession.
To your knowledge, was there another victim in this case?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And who would that be?
The son of James McCann, which is Tyler McCann,
And how old was Tyler at the time?
13.
And the day the investigation began, where did you find Tyler?
I went to the Cape Fear Valley Medical Center where I found Tyler.
Your Honor, I'd like to approach again.
Okay.
Do you recognize his photographs?
I did.
Do you know who took those photographs?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And where did you take those photographs?
I took him at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center.
And who is the person in these photographs?
Tyler McCann.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to introduce plaintiffs 17 through 19. These are photographs of Tyler McCann.
Any objection? Okay, they're admitted without objection.
Okay. Also, with your permission, I'd like to publish these to the
You
jury.
may do, have the bailiff do that.
Can you describe some of Tyler McCann's injuries?
Yes. He had two swollen eyes. That had been repeatedly hit in the face. You see, where he had been bound by the rope and the duct tape, you can clearly tell that there were impression marks or ligature marks on his wrists and feet or legs. Sorry.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Your witness.
Detective Scott, you testified earlier that you have multiple duties as a law enforcement officer, correct?
Yes.
You also testified that you have had extra training to do evidence collection and photographs, correct?
That is correct.
Have you ever had training to become a sketch artist?
Well, that's the three primary means of documentation when you enter a crime scene: notes, sketches, and photos. So it wasn't to scale.
So that's no.
Sure. I mean,
Have you ever had training to become a sketch artist?
no, because you don't need training.
So is it normal for a detective to make sketches that are not to scale and then introduce them as evidence?
Yes, you don't need it to be to scale as long as it says not to scale.
Okay. And you are the only person who took evidence and fingerprints from the McCann household and from Tyler?
I believe I was.
You're not sure?
I mean, the case was a while ago.
I would actually like to refer back to some of the pictures the the prosecution presented. Can we show those again? Yeah, can we do that?
Yeah.
I'd like to refer back to number 5, please. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, number 4. I apologize. Detective Scott, you do recognize this photo?
I do.
You were the one who took this photo.
I was.
Could you describe to me where Tyler was laying when he was found?
He wasn't there when I arrived.
So you don't know if Tyler, you cannot testify if Tyler was laying on that porch or not.
You'd have to ask another officer that. He had already been transported to the hospital by the time I arrived. But that's where the evidence was left for me to collect.
And did you dust the porch for fingerprints or shoe prints or anything like that?
To my knowledge, no.
Can you go to the next one, number 5, please? Detective Scott, is this a picture you took?
It is.
Is this a picture of the front door of the McCann residence?
It is.
Did you dust this door for fingerprints, ear prints, shoe marks?
Sorry, I mean, it happened a couple of years ago. I'm sorry, I do not remember.
Well, you seem to be pretty certain that you were the one who took this photo, so I would think that you would remember if you collected the evidence, correct?
I did.
So I would think that you would remember where you collected evidence from. Is that not the case?
I mean, I'm a visual person. I mean,
Well, there's a photo.
I know. That's why I said I remember taking it.
Okay. So, is it fair to say that you did not dust this door for fingerprints?
I wouldn't say fair. Honestly, it was a couple years ago.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I see the next photo, please? The next. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. In this photo that's a screen door, correct?
Yes.
There is an actual wooden door or metal door that actually leads into the home, correct? That you have to open to get actually into the house.
Yeah, it's right behind that.
Did you dust that door for fingerprints, shoe prints, ear prints, anything of that nature?
Your Honor, badgering witness.
Overruled. May I answer? You will answer.
Sorry, I can't answer that.
Detective Scott. Okay. You collected all of the evidence, but you didn't dust doors other than the bedroom door for fingerprints or ear prints or shoe marks.
The initial, I mean, normally you would, yes, do common areas,
Mhm.
but, I mean, since we found an ear print over where the master bedroom door was, just left it at that.
So normally protocol would be to dust entranceways and doorways, things that people would touch to get into the home, but in this case you decided that it wasn't important, that you decided not to do it.
Can't answer that one either.
Okay. Detective Scott, you also testified to the ear print being found on the door, and you also testified that the only prints that were found on the door were Tyler's and James McCain's.
Usable prints.
So you found other prints on the bedroom door, but you cannot testify as to whose prints they belong to?
Usable, I mean, can you clarify what you're asking?
Keep your voice up.
Can you clarify what you're asking, please?
Okay. On the bedroom door, you found prints other than Tyler and James McCain's?
There were 6 prints that we found, but 2 of them were usable, which meant that we could tell whose they were.
So in turn, you did not find any other prints on the door other than Tyler and James McCain's?
No.
And, Detective Scott, you also testified to being shown you have to press your ear up to a door to get the ear print, correct?
There has to be enough pressure applied so that you can get the intention of it.
Right. Is there any way that I could get Detective Scott to redo the
You
ear
asked me
print?
nicely.
Will you please go to the door and thank you.
You want me to re-demonstrate?
I'm sorry, do what?
Re-demonstrate?
Yes, please. Okay. I'm sorry, you can stop now. Detective Scott, would you say, how tall would you say you were?
Around 5'9".
Around 5'9". And my client, Mr. Kuntz, is 6 feet tall. So he's quite a bit taller than you, correct?
Not that much taller.
Detective Scott, when you pressed your ear up to the door,
Did you lean over, or were you standing up straight?
Yeah, going over.
So you leaned over. And how far was the ear print from the bottom of the door?
59 inches.
Which is roughly 5 feet tall, you would say? So it would be a stretch to say that a 6 foot tall man would bend down almost a foot to listen to the door? No, that's not you. But Detective Scott, could you do it again?
I mean, I can go down here.
But that's not normal, correct? You've done it 3 times and you just leaned over.
Yeah, I was demonstrating, but I mean, I can go either. I can go anywhere on the door.
Okay, but it probably is unlikely that he bent down a foot.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Detective Scott, you can sit down. Or Detective Scott, were any of the photos that you took that have been presented today or in evidence, does any of those have any evidence to link that David Koontz was in this home, or have any evidence to prove that he was, any evidence linking my client?
I'd have to look at the other photos before I could answer that.
Okay, are there any photos that were presented today to link my client to the McCain home?
Can we go through them one more time, please?
Mm-hmm. And actually, I'm going to use the last before those pictures. I'm gonna need the first number 14 is where I'm going to start again.
I say no.
No. Detective Scott, what is that a picture of?
The right here is the ear print that was lifted, and then this right here is the cheekbone with the powder that we lifted it with.
Did you lift the cheek print,
I didn't.
or did you just powder it?
What are you asking?
I'm asking if that powdered space right there was lifted as a print, or did you just powder it to note that it was a cheekbone, or what you think is a cheekbone?
We need to powder it to see where the ear print was. I mean, I don't just powder
I'm
stuff.
asking, did you take that print and put it into evidence?
Yes.
So there's a cheek print in evidence as well.
No, this entire thing is in evidence. It's,
So you did the whole thing as one.
as I recall.
Okay. Detective Scott, you're an intelligent man, correct? Yes?
Are you calling me intelligent?
I'm asking you, do you think that you are intelligent?
Yes.
Okay. If you were to look at that, would you say that that was an ear print without having extensive background, as you say, because you have decided that it is an ear print? Would you call that an ear print?
I can't answer that for you because I'm not an ear print expert. I just collected the evidence.
No, I'm asking as a person. Would you say that looks like an ear print? Everybody has ears.
Yes, but they're all shaped different. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, if I was, it depends on the situation, I guess. I mean.
So does it look like an ear print? That's all I'm asking you. Does it look like an ear print?
I mean, are you asking me from a crime scene perspective?
I'm asking you as a human being, does that look like an
Objection,
ear
badgering
print?
the witness.
Overrule.
I mean, if you caught me on the side of the road and said, hey, what is this? Yes, of course, I would not know that was an ear print.
So the answer is no.
You want to take it that way, yes.
And Detective Scott, you testified earlier to, you don't remember who you gave the evidence to, but you do know that it ended up in Mr. Grove's hand. So, as a detective, law enforcement officer, you gave over evidence in a murder trial or a murder to someone.
To a law enforcement official, you sign that evidence out.
But you don't remember who that was?
At this point, I don't.
So you cannot testify to chain of custody completely, correct?
If you give me something that can jog my memory, I will.
I'm asking you right now, can you testify to the chain of custody?
Do you have something? I need to see something so I can testify to it.
So the answer is no. Is the answer no?
Honestly, I don't even know what you're asking.
I'm asking you, the person that you gave the evidence to, you don't recall who that person is.
At this time, no, because it happened a while ago.
Okay, so today you cannot testify to the chain of custody of the evidence you collected.
Let's move on.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes.
Briefly.
Can you tell for the court who dusted for prints?
Yes, that would be Regina Miller.
So you yourself did not dust for prints.
I recall that.
So you cannot testify about dusting for prints.
No.
What was your primary role?
I collected the evidence and took photos, and I took video, and then I took photos of the interior and exterior of the residence.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. You can come down and call your next witness.
State calls Georgina Miller. Would you please state your name for the court?
Georgina Miller.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a fingerprint technician for the state of North Carolina.
And can you tell me what the duties of a fingerprint tech are?
I'm supposed to identify and collect any kind of fingerprints that are visible or invisible.
Can you tell the jury about your educational background?
I got my master's degree from George Washington for forensic science. I did a 3-year internship while I was studying that with New York City, and then I've been working as a fingerprint technician for 10 years now in North Carolina.
And do you have any special training related to your occupation?
Every 5 years you're supposed to get certified to have a fingerprint certification, and I actually do it every 3 years to make sure that I'm updated on all the new guidelines.
So are you familiar with the investigation of the death of James McCann?
Yes, I am.
And where did the crime take place?
It happened 7417 55th Avenue. It's in Fayetteville, Cumberland County.
And was that the McCann residence?
Mm-hmm.
And can you please state for the jury your involvement with this case?
I just dusted the crime scene, and I later dusted the vehicle, and I went back to the crime scene later to redust, and I also collected evidence from the defendant.
To start off, what kind of forensic examinations are usually done in crime scenes with a dead body?
When there's a dead body involved, I'll look at the body first, see if there's any visible prints. Since there was blood around the body, I looked to see if I saw any blood fingerprints on the body or around the area, which I was not able to find. And then I started dusting the crime scene to see if there's any that I can bring into light.
Could you state for the jury the state of the home when you entered?
The house was well kept. There wasn't a lot of decorations, or the house seemed pretty empty to me.
And could you describe the master bedroom for the jury?
Yes, when I walked into the master bedroom, I saw Jim. He was laying naked on his bed. His ankles and his wrists were bound together with tape. There was blood around his head, and there was blood on the floor and on the carpet.
Could you state for the jury the rooms that you processed for evidence?
Yes, I first started off in James' room, since that's where the crime he was killed at. And then I moved to his bathroom, and then I went to Tyler's bedroom since he was beaten in his bedroom. And then I moved around to every other room in the house, which is the hallway, bathroom, kitchen, TV room, and garage.
And were you able to find any prints at the scene?
Yes, I was.
Can you describe those prints?
I found 6 prints. There were 3 usable ones. There was 2 fingerprints that were from Tyler, which is James, his son. And I also found an ear print, and those were on the outside of James' bedroom door. And the ear print was the left ear.
Could you just give a short description of the ear print itself?
A description of the ear print?
Yeah. Where it was found?
Oh, it was on the outside of the bedroom door, to the left of the handle, and about 59 inches above the ground, I think.
And who collected that evidence for you?
I collected it.
And was that given to anyone?
Yes, it was given to Detective Scott.
Now, did you ever remove the door where the ear print was found?
I didn't remove the door.
Were you there when the door was moved?
I was there.
And can you state the purpose of taking the door?
Well, before the door was taken, I ended up. This is a different day. You know that, right?
Could you clarify the day?
Okay, this happened on May 24th, the following year, which is 95. I got requested to go back to the crime scene to try to enhance the ear print, and so I used super glue, dust, and an alternate light source, trying to enhance the ear print, but I was not able to. So they told me that they were going to remove the door to put into evidence, just in case. I don't know. They wanted to try lifting it later on, just so it wouldn't be tampered with.
Now, were you aware of the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department's request to find a match for that print?
Yes.
And was there any sort of list of people that might have entered that house created?
Yes.
And was that list made available to you?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Can you describe the people that were on that list?
People on the list would include anyone who would have been in the house, which is friends, family, James and Tyler, any medical personnel or any police officers, just anyone who was there at the crime scene.
Can you explain what an exemplar print is?
Exemplars are examples from people who could have been in the house, and so we can use that to compare, I guess, against the ear that we collected.
And were you there to collect any of those prints?
The only ear print I was there to help collect was from the defendant.
And what procedure was done to obtain that ear print exemplar?
Well, first I had to cut his hair just to make sure his ear was fully shown. And then we told him to apply lotion to his ear, so then we were able to get clear prints. We had him push his ear on a piece of glass, which I held, and at different angles, different pressures. We did 6 of those, and then we ended up doing 1 ear impression without the lotion.
And have you ever taken ear print exemplars before?
I haven't.
What prompted you to take the exemplars?
Detective Owen thought that that the defendant was the one who left the ear print at the crime scene.
Was anyone with you when you took those exemplar prints?
Yeah, Mr. Grubb was.
Okay.
Mr. Who?
Grubb?
And what gave you the right to take the defendant's ear exemplar?
He allowed us to. He consented.
Thank you. No further questions.
The witness.
witness?
May do so.
Ms. Miller, do you recognize this as your report?
Yes.
Could you read for me, please, the circled portion right here?
It says, the latent lift I marked number 6 contains no latent impressions of value for identification purposes. The lift contains a possible ear print.
Now, why did you say that it contained no impression of value for identification purpose?
Because I'm not trained to identify any any prints that aren't fingerprints. I'm just not trained in it, so I really can't say if there is any value to it.
But you did in this instance. Well, what triggered you to have such a response?
I did what?
You did say that right here,
It
the impression of contains no latent impressions of value for identification purposes.
Objection, Your Honor. Does the defense have to stand?
I don't know. Overruled, that's an objection. You may continue.
You said that the lift contains no latent impressions of value for identification purposes. What was it that triggered you to give that response?
Because I'm not trained
But
in reading ear impressions.
if you weren't trained, couldn't you have simply left, no answer instead of ruling it out that it had no purpose for identification?
Because there's no purpose in my part. That's my report, so it's my part.
Ms. Miller, why did you start dusting in the master bedroom?
Because that's where the body was found.
So it's common to start where the victim is and
Yes.
work your way up.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And let me go back for a second. If you were stated that you were not trained in ear prints, why was it then that you took the impressions from my defendant?
Have an exemplar to make sure we have an example from him he compared.
But if you had no training, could you be sure that you were following the proper process?
That's why I was there just to assist. I wasn't actually taking the prints. I was there holding the glass, doing the hair, making sure I'm there to help Mr. Johnson.
When you take a fingerprint, do you often use different pressures and different angles?
Yes.
You do? Could you walk me through that process of taking a fingerprint example?
Do you want me to really show you?
Yes, I'd like to see how you do it with different pressures and from different angles.
I don't know how you're going to be able to tell pressure from my results.
So,
I really don't know how you want me to show.
okay.
Like,
Just tell us what you did.
angles, different angles, and rolls, different.
So how many times would you take an impression from each fingerprint? From
Until
each finger?
you believe that it's clear, or if it matches up with the fingerprint on the front piece.
So you're consciously seeking a match?
You're consciously
Seeking a match between
to match
a
the
suspect.
angle and the pressure.
Okay.
Not the ear.
Is putting lotion on a suspect's ear a common practice in taking an ear print?
I am not qualified to answer that.
Okay. And you said you had to cut the hair
Yes.
off my client when you took his ear impression, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, if his hair was still long, it would have been impossible, would you say? That
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Let me ask the question first.
it would be impossible, would you say, to have an ear print with hair hanging over the ear?
Okay. Are you talking again?
Yeah. So if his hair was still long, had you not cut his hair, would you be able to take an ear print without removing the hair?
Well, his hair wasn't really that long. It was barely on his ear, so I just cleaned it up. So, I mean, I don't really know how long his hair was.
Okay. Did you collect ear prints from other potential suspects?
I didn't. No.
Are you aware of any other law enforcement officer collecting ear prints?
I am aware of it. Yes.
Do you know of any other suspects in the case that ear prints were taken from?
I'm not aware.
So, how many other people did you collect ear prints from?
I just did one. I was there to assist Michael Gov collecting the defendant's ear prints.
Okay. No further questions.
Very good. Good afternoon, Dr. Hamilton. Can you state your name for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Dr. Amy Hamilton.
Dr. Duke, speak up.
Dr. Amy Hamilton.
Dr. Hamilton, what is your current occupation?
I'm a medical examiner for Cumberland County, North Carolina.
Please describe your formal education.
I did my undergrad pre-med degree at the University of North Carolina, and then I also did my doctorate degree there, where I specialized in forensic pathology.
Can you explain the difference between a forensic pathologist and medical examiner?
A forensic pathologist specializes in determining a cause of death and a manner of death in the same way that a normal medical examiner would, with more extensive background, by examining internal parts of bodies as well as other things.
Is every medical examiner a forensic pathologist?
No, sir.
Alright. Do you conduct autopsies?
Yes.
What type of autopsies do you conduct?
Forensic autopsy.
What differentiates a forensic autopsy from a standard autopsy?
How you perform it, like I said earlier, you would do more extensive if you think a crime has occurred, to find maybe injuries or defensive wounds or something like that.
What do these determinations help you with?
In determining cause of death or manner of death.
How long have you been conducting forensic autopsies?
For over 30 years, I am now retired.
On average, how many forensic autopsies do you conduct annually?
About 1,700 annually.
You said you're retired, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you still actively perform forensic autopsies?
I do. I'm contracted with Cumberland County, North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office.
Have you testified in court concerning forensic autopsies?
I have.
In what capacity have you testified?
I've testified as a medical examiner and as a forensic pathologist.
Your Honor, this time prosecution requests Dr. Amy Hamilton be admitted as an expert witness as a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist.
Objection. She will be allowed to testify.
Thank you. Where are you currently employed, Dr. Hamilton?
Cumberland County Medical Examiner's Office as a contractor.
Were you employed here on December 17, 1994?
I was.
Are you familiar with the James McCann investigation?
I am.
How?
I conducted the autopsy on Mr. James McCann on December 17, 1994.
Did you produce a report as a result of that autopsy?
I did.
Your Honor, prosecution requests to approach the witness.
Thank you.
Is that the whole thing?
It is. Do you recognize the document? Please take one to the jury. Based on your training experience, did you make a determination regarding the death of Mr. James McCann?
I did.
What was this determination?
He died from a closed head injury.
Based on your forensic pathology training experience, did you make a determination regarding the manner of death?
I did.
What was your determination?
Homicide.
What factors did you take into account when determining this manner of death?
I take into
Let me
account.
ask you this, do you have 14 copies of that document?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, hand it back over.
I take into account police investigations, possible injuries, defensive wounds, statements, and facts that law enforcement may already have about when I'm conducting my autopsy and things of that nature.
During the course of your autopsy, did you make a determination regarding the health of James McCann prior to his decease?
I did.
What did you determine?
He was a fully developed, healthy 44-year-old male who had no prior diseases or issues that might have caused his death prior to this incident.
Did you observe injuries in Mr. McCann's head?
I did.
Can you describe this injury?
He was impacted on the right side of his head, and it was very severe.
Based on your forensic pathology training and experience, can you describe how much force it takes to do this damage?
It takes an intense amount of force to do the injury that Mr. McCann had to his head.
You said you conducted over 1,000 autopsies annually, correct? Have you ever encountered a head injury this traumatic before?
No, in fact, to compare an instance, there was a woman who was hit over the head with a tire iron multiple times, and her skull was not even fractured.
Did you make any further determinations regarding the injury to Mr. McCann's head?
Yes, I did.
What was that?
Mr. McCann's fracture on his head, he suffered from what's called a crush fracture, and it was fractured into 26 pieces. On an average, when a crush fracture occurs, the weapon that's used must have been with steel or metal object.
Could you explain this with the drawing for us, Doctor?
Okay.
There's a drawing board right there. Can you explain for that?
Okay, so bear with me. I am a medical examiner and not an artist, but if this is Mr. James McCann's head, most humans' brains are cut down the middle with the midline, two hemispheres, and he was impacted on the right side of his head right here. His skull was fractured into 26 pieces all along here. When an impact like this occurs, it goes all the way through the force, the foot-pounds of force, go all the way through your head and hits adjacent. And what happens when a fracture occurs is the energy comes back and causes a fracture, and that's only one linear fracture, one single linear fracture. And he had 26 pieces. Now, in comparison to how much force this would take, it's on an average to fracture a human skull, it's 33.3 to about 75 foot-pounds, and which is equivalent to about 13.5 miles per hour coming at his head at this particular spot, or if he were to fall about 6 feet on that particular spot on his head. Also, a very unusual thing that happened to Mr. McCann. After this force happened, it was so severe that his brain completely moved past the midline to the left. So his brain ended up being right here in the autopsy.
Prosecution request for court service. Could you demonstrate where the injury was located using this camera for the monster surface drawing?
Can I get up?
Please.
Okay. This, because autopsy photos were not allowed in this trial because it's very biased, very recent. So I made a replica of what happened to Mr. James McCann's skull. This is the right side of his skull. This his 26 pieces that was fractured. And like I said before, this is 13.5 miles per hour coming out of his head right here. And it's just, it took up this much of his head. So In my opinion, an object that would have to have struck his skull like this has to be a steel or metal object to make this much damage.
You done, Doctor? Dr. Hanson, did you observe any defensive wounds on the victim?
I did.
How many defensive wounds did you encounter?
There was one defensive wound, and it was on the dorsum side of his right hand, which is just the opposite of your palm right here.
In your professional opinion, is this normal?
It is not normal to have only one defensive wound in a blunt force trauma incident like this.
Do you have a professional opinion as to how this occurred?
I do. From the police investigation, I understand that there's a good chance Mr. McCann was asleep when he was attacked. I think that that's one reason why initially he was not able to try to defend himself if he knew initially. I also believe, by my expert opinion, that after the initial hit to his head, or the second one, that he was rendered unconscious and was not able to defend himself.
Prosecution has no further questions at this time, Madam.
Doctor, you testified that, in your expert opinion, that this wound, the head wound, was created with a weapon of some sort.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what that weapon would be?
A steel or metal object, in my opinion.
Like a pipe, or do you have any idea of how big it might be, or how much it would weigh? Do you have any idea of what object it would be, how much it would weigh?
I don't think beyond materials, because I only know what materials can make it.
And during this autopsy, did you examine the pieces of skull?
Yes.
Did you ever test them for any type of steel or metal substances to actually prove that it was done by an object?
Yes.
You did, and what were those results?
They were negative. No steel or metal was found in the skull.
So, you know that it was not done by an object, correct?
Well, you also know this is a closed head injury, correct?
I'm asking you in your expert opinion.
That no material could have gotten this. We test to make sure, but it was a closed head injury, so his skin and everything was swollen.
Okay, so did you test the skin? Or his hair?
Yes,
Did
we
they-
examined the whole body.
Did they have fibers of metal or steel in
No,
them?
ma'am, they did not.
So it's safe to say that there was no object used that was steel or metal.
It's not safe. Something happened to his head, obviously. Something impacted it. Some type of object.
But it might have been a fist, correct?
Some speculation.
A fist coming at 13.5. I guess maybe a very strong person.
A very strong person. So you're testifying that you checked to see, tested if you will, tested to see if there was residue left from a weapon such as steel or metal, and there was none.
There was none, yes ma'am.
So as an expert, you could say that that was not used.
As an expert, I can say with this type of injury, a steel or metal object must have been used.
But you just said you tested and that there was no residue.
Not all objects, things will fall off of when hitting something. Steel or metal is pretty strong material. It doesn't like just flake everything.
But it could have been someone's foot.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I can answer that now.
She testified as an expert.
Don't do that.
I'm asking. You're testifying as an expert, and you're saying that you're not qualified to say if a fist. You're a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist, but you're not qualified.
A steel or metal object impacted Mr. James McCann's skull.
Okay, and I'm asking you, is it plausible that it was done by fist?
No. In my expert opinion, no.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness just stated that it was plausible that it was done by someone really strong. It could be plausible that it was made by someone who's very strong.
Objection to me or to her?
Oh, to her statement. To her
Is that
statement.
overruled?
Doctor, you also testified to a defensive wound. Are you aware that Mr. McCann worked for Consolidated Freightways Factory? So you are aware that Mr. McCann worked with his hands?
Yes.
So it is plausible that it could have been an injury from work, or an injury that happened before the murder, right? Are you absolutely sure that it is a defensive wound?
During forensic autopsy, we obviously examine all of these. Two main factors to determine if it's perimortem or antemortem, which is before death or after death, would be blood coming in between the layers of skin, or inflammation if it was period death. And neither one of those factors were there. So, in my expert opinion, in my forensic autopsy, it was while he was being attacked.
So
at the time
So
of
all
the-
you know for certain is that it happened before he died.
No, perimortem is before, and he did not have those two factors that determine if it's perimortem. So it was during the event.
Okay. Doctor, you're saying that perimortem is before death, but it didn't happen before he died. I don't understand. I'm confused.
This determines the amount of time that a wound has been sitting. Is if skin is between layers or it's inflamed. Neither one of those factors, when you came to me, were that. So it wasn't before he was attacking.
Oh, so you're testifying to say that it absolutely, for 100% certain it happened during his attack.
In my opinion, it happened during the attack, excuse me.
During his attack. And you said that it's kind of rare that there would only be one defensive wound, correct? So, in your opinion, would Mr. McCann have been laying face down, or would he have been laying on his back during the time this defensive wound supposedly happened?
On his back, in my opinion.
So you're saying that he then flipped over because he was found on his stomach?
He was found.
I know. I'm asking you if he was flipped over.
By the guy, or did he put himself in? Can you rephrase the question?
Okay, I'm asking you. I'm asking after the apparent defensive wound, was Mr. McCann then able to flip over?
I don't know. I can testify to the lividity, which happens after death. There's an interval of time where when you die, and then when lividity is completely set in. And lividity is just blood settling in your body after you die. It's really gravity taking to whatever position you may be in. In this instance, James McCann ended up, when lividity was set in, on his stomach, with his wrist and legs behind him. So in the interval of time from when he died to when lividity completely set in, which is 6 to 12 hours, he was bound and he was flipped in. That's all I can testify to, is his lividity was set in.
No further. Anything else? Thank you, doctor. You may come down.
Michael Grubb. You take your occupation.
Supervising forensic scientist at the North Carolina Crime Lab in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Can you please describe your formal education?
Yes, sir. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science at the University of California, Berkeley, with a degree in forensic science and criminology. 1975. I did graduate study at the same school, UC Berkeley, in forensic science from 1977 to 1978. I also did an FBI specialized time mark and shoe print course in 1984, following up with the FBI specialized firearm course in 1988.
Do you perform annual training?
Yes, I do.
What type?
Annual training is basically FBI mandated that all state labs do, and basically what we do, we're given an object. We are asked to process that object for any latent prints and develop and match that with the suspects. If you have to score 100% on that test. If not, you fail and will not be allowed to do any more forensic science work until you pass that test.
So how long have you been away from examiner?
14 years.
Have you worked in the same location all 14 years?
No, sir. I started my career, I did my first 9 years as a forensic scientist at the North Carolina Travel Lab in Greensboro, North Carolina. After that, I was promoted to the supervising forensic scientist at the Travel Lab in Greensboro for 4 years, and now I'm currently a supervising forensic scientist at the North Carolina Travel Lab in Raleigh.
What were your duties as a forensic scientist in Greensboro?
My duties were to examine all prints submitted to the lab.
What types of prints did you examine?
I examined shoe prints, tire marks, fingerprints, and recently ear prints.
What were your duties as a supervising forensic scientist?
Supervising forensic scientist was less hands-on, more teaching the younger people coming into the job. I overlook and check their backs to make sure they didn't mess up on their assignments.
Have you ever testified in court?
I have testified in court.
In what capacity did you testify in court?
I've testified as an expert witness on blood splatter analysis, crime scene reconstruction, shoe prints, fingerprints, and tire marks.
How many times have you testified in this capacity?
I don't know how many times, but I've testified in Washington State, Florida, California, Missouri.
Your Honor, the prosecution requires nomination of Mr. Michael Grubb as a forensic latent print expert. Thank you, Your Honor. Are you familiar with the homicide investigation into James McCann?
Yes.
How are you familiar with this?
I'm familiar with it because of the earprint that's found on the master bedroom door in the corner of the residence.
Do you know why you were called to examine this latent print?
I was called because of my expertise and training that I have in latent prints.
Did you have a chance to examine all the latent prints from the house?
Yes, I examined roughly around 70 prints that was obtained from the house.
Who did you receive these from?
Detective Miller.
Who did you receive the exemplars from?
Detective Miller.
How would you categorize the latent prints?
Latent prints are categorized into two categories, that is class characteristics and individual characteristics.
Can you describe class characteristics for us?
Class characteristics represents a group. That is, it can be running shoes, it can be hair, it can be anything. Not specific to a person, but something that people share.
Do class characteristics narrow down a contributor?
Yes.
Can you describe individual characteristics for us?
Individual characteristic is something that only that individual possesses. So say, for example, that a person has a Nike brand running shoe. Well, Nike is the class characteristic because there's many Nike shoes out there. The individual characteristic of that Nike shoe would be the tread pattern from the footwear of that particular person.
Do fingerprints have class characteristics?
Yes.
Can you describe what these are?
The class characteristics of a fingerprint are the basic ridges, bifurcations, and designs on a fingerprint.
Can a fingerprint that is not complete, as in a partial print, be used to narrow a suspect with?
You're asking can a partial print be used to narrow a suspect?
Yes.
Yes.
How?
You can use a partial print if you have a good enough print. You can use that, run it through the database for fingerprints, and if it's a matching computer, the computer will put together the other parts of the fingerprint.
They testified concerning partial fingerprints in court before?
Yes.
How accurate are partial fingerprints?
It's depends on how good the partial print is.
Do earprints have class characteristics?
Yes, I believe.
Do earprints have individual characteristics?
Yes.
Is it possible to positively rule out individuals based on class characteristics?
Yes.
Is it possible to narrow down contributors based on class characteristics?
Yes.
Did you examine a latent print collected from the McCann residence?
I did.
All right. We're going to display Or the exhibits from earlier that was introduced under executive session. Mr. Hill? How do you recognize this photograph? What characteristics does this linear print show? Oh.
The class characteristics are.
Can you go over that slide for us? Get very good.
Class characteristics, every year print is the same as its parts. As you can see up top is the helix. Going down to the bottom, you have the anti-helix, which is the inner part of the ear. This goes down into the local area where the trigger is put there. That was in class.
And are there any individual characteristics represented?
The individual characteristics will be the shape and the size, along with the measurements of the part of the ear that was examined. The overall shape is that's 1 millimeter, 2, 3, 3.5. So the overall print is 5.5 by 3.5. That's the size of the individual. The curvature from the helix is about roughly 3 to 3.5, along with the width of the helix, which is about 0.5 millimeter. If you go down here to the anti-helix, it's roughly 2.5 to 4. And then the curvature from the bottom of the helix is roughly 4 to 5, with the lobe being present from 4.5 to roughly 5.5. So those are the individuals with all the specific diameters and measurements of the earprint.
Thank you. How many exemplars did you compare to this Leighton print?
Around 70.
How did you compare these exemplars to the Leighton print?
How did I compare?
Yes, sir.
I used the measurements, and I also made a transparent overlay, and laid them on top of each other and looked at identical matches from the other earprints to that earprint.
Based on your examination, can you exclude person that you compared to?
Yes.
Can you say for certain that Tyler did not make this earprint?
Yes.
Can you say for certain that James McCann did not make this earprint?
Yes.
Can you say for certain that Renee Shaw did not make this earprint?
Yes.
Can you say for certain Diana Kinsey did not make this earprint?
Yes.
Who else can you exclude, sir?
Everybody's got one.
So you're saying there's one exemplar that you took that matched this print?
Yes.
Who did that exemplar belong to? No further questions at the time, right?
Mr. Grubb, how many earprint exemplars did you take?
Roughly like 70.
From 70 different people?
Yes, that was in the house.
Okay. Now,
We request that the council sits down.
I may sit down. So you printed approximately 70 people.
Yes, sir.
Now, how many suspects did you earprint?
I don't know. I think two. I'm not sure because I wasn't told which one was the suspect. I was just told to match the earprint for the difference of the people.
So how many people did you take 6 different exemplars from?
The defendant.
Only the defendant.
Only the defendant.
Why was that?
Because law enforcement already had him as the main suspect, so the only one he is at the time.
So you were aware that my client was a suspect at the time you took his earprints?
Yes.
Now, why didn't you take 6 multiple different earprints from the other people you collected them from? Were you instructed specifically to take multiple earprints of my client?
I chose to for my own benefit.
But not to do that to the other people?
Yes, sir.
So within what degree of accuracy can you say that the other people you took earprints of certainly do not match the earprint on this?
None of them match except for the defendant.
Now, if you were taking these other 70 earprints with different angles and different pressures, do you believe that you could have found one that matched the one on this door, possibly?
I guarantee you though, to have that much pressure, you have to have a teeth pressure, which means it couldn't be a light pressure, it had to be a medium pressure to get the teeth on with the ear print on that door.
So if you knew the pressure prior to taking ear prints, why even test different pressures?
Just to make sure I can bring it across by y'all, so I can have.
Were you made aware of the men that had threatened Mr. McCann prior to his murder?
No, I was not.
So you probably didn't take their ear prints,
You know, sir. Not to my knowledge.
when you were taking the ear prints from my client, you had them apply lotion. Now, did you have the other people who you took ear prints from apply lotion in their ear?
No.
Did you have other people cut their hair off to take their ear prints?
Not to my knowledge.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any else?
Nothing further this time, Madam.
Just keep your seat. All right, listen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vanderwood. How are you? Can you state your full name for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Cornelius Vanderwood.
What's your occupation, Mr. Vanderwood?
I'm the Chief Inspector of Police in Beacon, Netherlands.
Sorry, speak up and tell me all that again. Chief what?
Chief Inspector of Police in Zaventem, Netherlands. Dutch. I'm also the head coordinator of international contacts at the Dutch Institute of Criminal Investigation and Crime Science.
How long have you been the Chief Inspector for the police?
2 years.
Can you describe your formal education for us?
In 1972, I graduated Police Academy. In 1976, I graduated with a diploma B in police group. In 1979, I graduated primary detective. And in 1983, I graduated as a crime scene officer.
Can you describe what a diploma B is for us, sir?
It's almost equivalent to, I guess, the U.S. Bachelor of Science.
All right. Can you describe your police training specifically?
My police training, other than the formal training I just mentioned, I also taken 30 courses at the Institute where I majored in criminal science and also specialized in latent print and trademark identification. And also I've done also examination, collection, and development of evidence. Examinations.
Objection, counsel's reading the way
He's rocking back and forth. This is tracking for us.
What's going on? I fell asleep.
Overruled. Sir, can you describe your training involving latent ear prints?
Yes. All my training has come from the Institute, where we've done hands-on and theory as well, where we've examined, developed, and collected latent prints.
What are your duties as Chief Inspector of the Police?
My duties as Chief Inspector, I oversee all police enforcement. I also make sure that, due to my involvement with the Dutch Institute, I also make sure that the detectives are fully knowledge of their the police detectives are fully knowledge of their primary duties.
What was your occupation prior to being the Chief Inspector?
I'll argue with the Dutch Institute. Before then, I would be a crime scene officer.
Okay. What were your duties as a crime scene officer?
For crime, the major point of a crime scene officer is to investigate crime scenes and any sort of latent print that was left at the scene. So that's what I do as well.
While you were working at the Institute of Criminal Investigation and Crime Science, did you specialize in any areas?
Yes, my major was ear prints.
How many years have you been?
Ear prints.
How many years have you been studying latent ear prints?
For over 10 years.
What training exists for latent ear prints?
Well, there's a training that they have available at the Dutch Institute. Also, the training that I received now I now teach.
What research have you done with latent ear prints?
I've collected numerous amounts of prints, crossed them over with different databases. I've actually created these databases in the Netherlands and also in the UK.
Did your research show anything specifically?
That there were no, all the earprints were unique and there were no matches.
Do you have any of your work or research published?
Yes, had articles, many multiple articles published. We also had a annual workshop at the IAI.
Have you given lectures on the topic of earprint identification?
Yes, the workshop I just mentioned at the IAI.
Do you do continuing training?
Yes. The continuing training that we have at the Dutch Institute, we have forensic training, that's continuing.
Have you testified in court concerning earprint identification?
Yes.
Do you testify as an expert witness in this field?
Yes.
In what countries did you testify?
I believe it was the US, the UK, and Netherlands, and I believe Canada as well.
Your Honor, prosecution requests nomination of Mr. Cornelius Vanderlip as a forensic latent earprint expert.
Your Honor, we object to this. Mr. Vanderlip has no training or accreditations within the United States.
We'll hear him.
Pardon?
That was basically your objection.
Yes, sir.
All right, so, court will allow him to testify as an expert in the earprint examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Where are you currently employed?
The Dutch Institute.
How long have you been employed there?
10 years.
Are you familiar with the homicide investigation concerning James McCann?
Yes.
How did you become aware of this?
I became aware when Mr. Grubb came to me over the phone and asked me if I would have my opinion on that.
Do you know why you were called?
Because he wanted to know if I could cross-examine use my resources and all the evidence that I collected over the years and cross-examine those with the one that we had on this case.
Did you receive exemplars as well?
Yes.
How many exemplars did you receive?
6.
Could you explain latent earprints for the foreman?
Well, latent earprint is just a non-physical trace of evidence that you must bring out using
Don't worry. Can you describe the characteristics of earprints?
There's actually 2 major characteristics. There's class and individual. The more broad one would be class, which is just the overall shape, or just the overall major features. Individual would be more like a piercings, or possibly a missing ear.
How many earprints did you examine in your career?
Over 1,000. Over 2,000.
2,000 earprints? Okay. What is the evidentiary value of latent earprints in your experience?
I think they're almost equivalent to the use of fingerprints.
Did you examine the exemplars collected from the police department provided by Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Did you compare the latent print to these exemplars?
Yes.
Did you compare this latent print against any other latent earprints?
Yes, I used the ones that I had available at the Dutch Institute and also the ones that I had available at the UK.
How many of the latent earprints that you compared against matched the latent earprint?
None. Oh, sorry. That I received. Oh, that's sorry. Excuse me. I'm not sure what you're saying. The ones that I looked over in my database. The only ones that I could actually find that matched was one of the defendants.
Because the defendants matched?
Yes, that was provided by Mr. Grove.
In your research and your experience, have you found any earprints to be identical?
No.
And you said that your print did match that of the defendant?
Yes.
Any further questions, John?
Mr. Vanderlip, could you name, if any training or certifications within the United States you hold?
No, not. I know that I speak on many kind of conventions in the U.S., but no sort of formal training here.
Mr. Vanderlip, is every part of the ear unique?
Can you repeat the question?
So, within class characteristics or individual characteristics, is every part of the ear unique to that one person?
Yes, it's like an upside down pyramid. Well, actually, it's a pyramid. Well, not upside down pyramid. So starts out very broad, and then with each indication that you have with the lower thigh, you can pinpoint and you can classify the original injury.
So if we took a very, not even within the lobe of